I'm still not over it. Why, Thanos? Oh, why'd you have to do us like that, bro? What did we ever do to you? No, not you. You don't get an in memoriam, Star-Lord. This is all your fault. So let's face it, none of us are over what happened at the end of Avengers Infinity War. Our heroes lost. Half of the galaxy was destroyed. Hulk became a massive wuss. It was a hard time. Things have never looked so bleak for the team in the MCU. It seems almost impossible for anyone in that universe to pose a threat to the Mad Titan now. But perhaps some from other universes could. The DC universe has all sorts of cosmic beings and souped up superheroes who could take on the big purple meanie and his magic mitten of doom. Maybe the thought of them beating him up will make the pain bearable until April. Something has to. Can Thanos finally be defeated? Here are 10 DC characters who can easily destroy Thanos. Number 1. Darkseid. There are some grudge matches so great that the internet will never stop obsessing over them. Who would win in fights like Goku versus Superman or Hawkeye versus Green Arrow are some of the most hotly debated questions in all of nerdom. So here we have one of the most legendary fan fights of all time. Darkseid versus Thanos. Pound for pound, Darkseid is much stronger, faster, and more versatile. If nothing else, his Omega Beams are the stuff of legend. While the battle would be legendary, Darkseid would come out on top. But of course, what if Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet? Well, if we're going to give Thanos the Gauntlet, then it's only fair that we supply Darkseid with the anti-life equation. For those that don't know, the anti-life equation is a formula to control the minds of all sentient beings. Even if Thanos is freed from the effects of the equation by the Gauntlet somehow, Darkseid would still be able to bend all of the various beings of the DC Universe to his will and throw them at Thanos. This includes all of the various cosmic beings in that universe. If you've got two omnipowerful people fighting, it's hard to judge the winner. Thanos does have a fatal flaw though. Every time he gets godhood, which happens a lot, he self-sabotages himself because deep down, he wants to lose. Darkseid has no such flaw. Way to angst yourself out of this one there, Thanos. Number 2, White Lantern. Goku from the popular Dragon Ball series is famous for his ever-expanding power level. He's reached the level of a god and then surpassed that. Casual fans might be surprised to learn that a lot of comic characters get the same kind of insane power scaling too. And that's exactly what happened when Kyle Rayner became the White Lantern. This grudge match is interesting because, as we all know, the Infinity Gauntlet is made up of all of the Infinity Stones. Likewise, Kyle Rayner's White Lantern is powered by the combination of all the power rings of the various Lantern Corps. Thanos is also famously obsessed with death, while the White Lantern draws power from life. While the battle itself is another case of wildly subjective god weapons, there is a strong case for a winner. The most powerful conflicts aren't about laser blasts or magic stones, but about philosophy. So in the battle of Thanos versus the White Lantern, the key struggle would come down to philosophy. Thanos may be death-obsessed, but he's much more layered than most bad guys. We saw that in the movie when he cried over Gamora's death. Jim Starlin has gone on record saying that Thanos is a depiction of his own struggles with depression. So Thanos is more of a lost soul than a mustache-twirling baddie. If a nihilist like Thanos is pitted against the personification of life's power, then it's clear what would happen. Thanos would likely give up the battle knowing that his philosophy of life having little value had been disproven. The movie Thanos is less nihilistic though. He fights to save life from itself, but he's also less powerful. If Thor's Stormbreaker can overpower him, a White Lantern ring would beat the crap out of him. As Jeff Goldblum always says, life finds a way. Number 3, Batman, God of Knowledge. If you're a frequent user of Reddit's various fan battle pages, you know that the scourge of the fandom is Batman fanboys. Pretty much any fight with Batman will always come down to prep time in their eyes. While there is some comic proof to this, they do seem to forget that Batman is still just a man. Yes, he has beaten Superman in combat several times, but there was always a contextual reason. Under normal circumstances, Superman would own him before he got a chance to use his kryptonite gadget. That is, unless Superman conveniently forgets he has super speed like he does in Batman vs. Superman. So in a standard fight, Thanos would destroy Batman with little effort. There is one contextual way that Batman would win though. In the Darkseid War storyline, Batman basically becomes a god of knowledge. He does this by sitting on Metron's special chair. Look, it's comic, just go with it, okay? Batman basically becomes an omniscient being. Batman has proven himself time and time again to be a master strategist. If Batman has access to all knowledge combined with his tactical genius, he is pretty unstoppable. If there is a way for Batman to defeat Infinity Gauntlet Thanos, he'd know it. He's basically a much more impressive Doctor Strange using his Time Stone cheat code to watch the ending of Avengers Endgame and plan accordingly. The one problem is that Thanos can possess the power of omniscience with the Gauntlet too. He's also a master strategist. So who wins in a battle between omniscient master tacticians? Well, this comes down to Thanos' fatal flaw again. Deep down, he wants to lose. Meanwhile, no one in the history of fiction has a bigger ego than Batman. It's clear that if Thanos and God of Knowledge Batman ever played existential chess, Batman would win. And then, of course, he'd end the fight by saying, "I'm Batman." It's kind of his thing. This verdict was brought to you by Prep Time Fans Incorporated. Number 4, the Anti-Monitor. There is one threat in the DC universe that has come the closest to wiping the entire thing out. The Anti-Monitor is a being from the antimatter universe who... Look, you either know who the Anti-Monitor is already, or your eyes glazed over the second I said antimatter universe. Let's just simplify this. Basically, he's a super powerful bad guy who can destroy universes. During Crisis on Infinite Earths, he very nearly obliterated all of DC's extended multiverse. So how does one judge who would win between beings of immeasurable power? We'll let a very special judge decide. In Marvel Comics, the Living Tribunal is practically an existential judge that protects reality. When cosmic beings joined together to stop Infinity Gauntlet Thanos, the Living Tribunal wanted none of it. To him, Thanos was not an interdimensional threat, so it wasn't his problem. The Anti-Monitor is the very definition of interdimensional threats. So we're going with the old LT's ruling on this one. One has to assume that there's a Judge Judy-style existential courtroom for these matters. Every episode consists of the Living Tribunal ruling which celestial being owes what in small claims court, or paternity test to determine what god created the universe. Just imagine the dance Zeus would do when he finds out he doesn't owe child support for all of existence. Number 5, Wallace West Flash. In Kingdom Come, the Wallace West Flash of that universe has basically become one with the Speed Force. He exists in a constant state of movement. His domain, Keystone City, is a paradise because he can essentially be everywhere at once. It's literally impossible for crime to exist there. Simply said, he is the ultimate superhero success story. So, while the Infinity Gauntlet might be more powerful than Wally West's physical body, it doesn't matter. This version of the Flash could remove the Gauntlet before Thanos has a chance to think. Even time manipulation has no effect on something like the Speed Force. If only Peter Parker had the ability to move faster than Star-Lord's angst, the next Marvel movie would just be called Avengers: Party at Stark's House. Number 6, Mr. MXYZPTLK. DC has a character who is basically parody personified. The being Mr. MXYZPTLK? No. Mr. MXYZPTLK? No. Mr. MXYZPTLK. You know what? Let's just call him Mr. M. Mr. M is more or less an evil cartoon character. It's like trying to fight an all-powerful Bugs Bunny. Ask any opera singer out there, you can't fight Bugs Bunny. Number 7, the Spectre. He might not be well known to casual superhero fans who watch the CW shows or the movies, but the Spectre is pretty cool. He's also one of the oldest of DC's superheroes, and also one of the most powerful. He's a being that inhabits the bodies of mortals to dispense existential justice. One might say he's God's angel of judgment. So yeah, pretty overpowered as superheroes go. We've already covered how the existential judge in the Marvel Universe, the Living Tribunal, was more powerful than Thanos. Well, the Spectre is more or less the DC equivalent of that. The two even had a fight one time with Living Tribunal, narrowly winning. So Thanos fighting against the Spectre would be like me going up against a quarterback in middle school. Thanos is gonna wind up stuffed in a locker, hanging by his Spider-Man boxers. Not that that ever happened to me. That was my friend. He went to another school. Number 8, Morpheus. If you haven't read Neil Gaiman's Sandman, this one's gonna be weird. Also read Neil Gaiman's Sandman. It's great, and it proves comics can be literature. So take that, Bill Maher. The main character of the story is literally the personification of the abstract concept of dreams. Morpheus is the ruler of the domain known as the Dreaming. This is where all dreams are. He's part of a family of beings called the Endless, who are personifications of other concepts like death and despair. Being that he's an abstract concept of a person, Thanos has no chance. The Infinity Gauntlet would be nothing to Morpheus. Things like reality, time, and power are no concern to someone like him. Though neither is someone like Thanos. If Thanos ever snaps his fingers and keeps everyone awake forever though, watch out. He is likely going to get a beatdown from Morpheus. This beatdown probably won't make a lot of sense, but it will be beautifully drawn by Sam Keith, so who cares? Number 9, Superman Prime 1 million. So, remember when I said that lots of comic characters get extremely over-the-top god powers? Well, hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to talk about Superman Prime 1 million. In the DC 1 million storyline, Superman basically becomes all-powerful. He might be among the most powerful comic characters ever written. Thanos fighting against the real Superman would be interesting. Thanos fighting against Golden Superman would be over pretty quickly. Though this does give you more ammo the next time you want to argue that Superman could fight Ultra Instinct Goku. You're welcome, internets. Number 10, Dr. Manhattan. Of all the beings on this list, Dr. Manhattan may be the most powerful. He is essentially a god with a big G instead of a little one. He may or may not be the character that created the DC universe after the events of Watchmen. At this point in time, there really is no ceiling on the abilities of Dr. Manhattan. While that is likely to change when he gets his long-awaited fight with Superman, right now, he's pretty much unbeatable. Manhattan is shown to be like a living embodiment of the Infinity Gauntlet. He has shown the ability to bend time, reality, space, and power to his will with no effort at all. If Thanos can wipe out half the galaxy with a snap, Manhattan can likely destroy the Gauntlet itself with just a thought. Even if Thanos manages to destroy Manhattan, this is shown to be little more than an annoyance to him. Ozymandias manages to obliterate Manhattan's physical form, but he just reconstructed himself seconds later, really peeved. The only thing that might give Thanos the edge is Manhattan's relative apathy to pretty much everything. Thanos is a tactical genius, so it is possible that he could outsmart the overpowered blue god, who usually goes into battle giving about 1% of his attention to it. So, there you have it. 10 characters who can beat up Thanos. Too bad none of them are on call for the next Avengers movie. That is, unless Disney buys another movie studio between now and then. Very possible. What do you think? Who from the DC universe, or any universe, could take on the Mad Titan? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.